Well, hello, and welcome to the second John Clare Ramble. Today we were over there. Yesterday we were over there in the hanglands, as we ended up calling them. Still very wet. But today we are heading eastwards. We are heading eastwards over this way to the southeast of Helpston onto the Great Plains. So hopefully we'll have some nice walking. The fields, as you can see, are still very much like the Somme. So it will be some interesting walking today. Excuse me while I adjust the camera. It's a bit brighter today. There hasn't been any rain. So I'm hoping that it will be a little bit warmer and a little bit drier, and there won't be so much slushing around going on. So I'm just kind of making my way now across this field. It's just been ploughed. You can normally get across here really easily, but as you can see, they've sort of ploughed it right up to the edge. So I'm just gingerly walking along here and hoping that I don't slip. Whoops, nearly did. And then we can get out onto our walk. Clearly people use this as a shortcut because they can see footprints ahead of me. In fact, it's actually easier by the looks of it if I just walk onto here. So again, this would have been an area where Clare would have walked to the southeast. This is south of Simmons Wood. I'm sure I'll try and get a map up at some stage, if I can technically find how to do that. We're south of Simmons Wood across the main road. And I think one thing I really sort of forgot to say yesterday, really, is before I came here, you know, people said, well, it's very different. Helpston and the area is utterly different from when Clare was here. You know, it's all flat plains and it's all agribusiness and large prairies. And it's not actually strictly true. There are areas where there are huge long plains and massive fields, but actually there's a lot of Helpston, like here, just trying to show you now, where there are just beautiful tracks and woodland and beautiful walks and still really quiet places, and there's a lot to see. I'm going to try to do, excuse the camera work, I'm going to try to do sort of several of these videos because there's a lot of places to visit. You know, people do make out that this is a sort of featureless landscape, and it just isn't true. I wonder if the people that say that about Helpston and the environment here have ever actually been here, because if they had, they would see that there are still lots of spaces which are wooded, which are quite hilly actually. There are some really beautiful unspoilt locations, probably completely different from when Clare lived here, but equally as beautiful, and you can get a feeling. I'm not saying you're looking at exactly the same landscape as when Clare lived here, but I think you can get a feeling actually of some of the wildness, some of the wilderness, and we'll see today when we go out across these fields that we're heading towards now that there are beautiful areas and there are still some wilderness areas here, albeit man-made to an extent. But if ever you were thinking of coming here, I would encourage you to do so. And hopefully these videos might be a bit of an opportunity for people to look at the area and think, oh well, actually maybe I will go up there for a morning or an afternoon or a weekend. So yeah, it's well worth a visit. Just coming out to the end of this sort of wooded track now. Out to quite a wide expanse, very different, very different environment from where we were yesterday, which was extremely wooded, flooded, quite dense woodland. This is now quite a different, you're out now towards quite a different, very open landscape, huge skies. Try to give you a bit of a flavour of this now. So here we are, we're on the, just seen a buzzard fly out of the top of a tree, he heard us coming. So we're in a much greater expanse of area now. This is to the southeast of Helpston. Again, the typical drains, draining all the water off of the fields here. So let's take a little wander around here. And we're heading off in that direction towards those trees. That's where we're heading off. So it's one of the annoying features of bringing technology with you, is that it doesn't always want to play ball. So I'm making extremely slow progress so far because I'm just trying to fix the camera and stuff. So that's annoying. So hopefully I can get that sorted and we can carry on with our walk. But we have sun today. I'm not sure if you can see the sun. You might be able to see a bit of it. We've got the sun. It's a bit windier. So you'll just have to bear with today, I'm afraid, and we will see how far we get. It's a bit chillier today as well. Not sure if you can hear that, but it's January the 28th, and I'm sure that's a skylark I can hear. Can you hear that? It's sort of flitting around and it's making a sort of half-hearted attempt to rise up into the sky. Maybe it's not, maybe it's something else. I don't have much bird knowledge, I'm afraid. But that really sounded like a skylark to me. I thought they went somewhere else during the winter. Africa or somewhere. So apologies for the wind if you can hear the wind. It's quite windy today. I have got a special muffler for this microphone, and apologies also for camera rattle, but I do think it's probably a feature of this microphone, unfortunately. So anyway, here we are. The hanglands are right behind me across the road, so I think you can see that. So we're now heading off. There's that skylark again. Hear it? Not sure if you can hear that. It's over that way, it's right behind me. Two of them. Come on, come this way. Two of them now. In January. Is that normal? I'm not going to pick these up on this camera. Anyway, they buggered off. That was interesting anyway. There's a little interesting moment for you. I'm having some card problems today. It's kind of doing weird stuff, so I'm not even sure if this will come out. So if it doesn't, there you go. But very different landscape. Anyway, trying to get back on course. Very different landscape to yesterday. Try and do a bit more filming today and a bit less talking. Very different landscape to what we had yesterday. This is very open. Try and give you a little 360 panorama. It's a very open sort of landscape today. Much windier, chillier than I was expecting. Weather forecast said it was going to be mild today. Well, that was a lie. But we're heading off to a little clump of woodland over in that direction. And quite a favourite photography spot of mine, this. Quite nice to get these trees, single trees on the foreground with the sort of giant sky. Nice area to photograph this. If you're a photographer, this is a great place to come. It's very nice for photography here. It's a great place. So not sure if you can see that sign behind me, but we are on the route. We're following the route, part of the route of the Torpool Way, which, as far as I am aware, runs from, at least from Peterborough all the way to Stamford. It might be a much longer route, I don't know. But it might be a route that I will take one day, one weekend. I might come up and do that when the weather's better. Unfortunately, I'm still having significant camera problems today, so I'm not really sure if you're going to see this second video, so we shall see. So we're pretty much at the top of this ridge now, as you can see. Quite a hilly area really, very muddy up here, very muddy track. And just going to follow this along for a mile or so, and then we turn right back down towards Caster Hanglands. More flooded fields up here on the ridge. I can hear a buzzard. There's normally 3 or 4 buzzards up here. Quite a favourite photography spot of mine, this. I really like that lone tree ahead of us. It's given me some very nice shots in the past. Apologies for the tractor noise. I couldn't have lunch in my favourite spot as there's people working up there with a tractor. So there he is, over there somewhere. So there wasn't much I could do really. As you can see, these dogs are full to brimming once again. This is a little favourite spot of mine. Some very nice pictures here. Tends to make quite a nice sort of frame for a picture. Some tree bent over on its own. So we are just entering our little woodland on our walk now. That's where we've been, and somewhere along that track I've managed to lose an SD card from my camera, so probably half of this episode is missing, so apologies for that. That's only led to an increase in my annoyance at the camera gear today, but as of yet the glitch I had earlier seems to have righted itself. I've now got to try and navigate this without killing myself, so bear with me. Just to add insult to injury, I don't want to end up losing a camera as well as a camera card. This looks quite dark to me, so excuse me as the footage darkens as we move into this wood. The good news is that as of this moment my microphone is working and my camera is working, so I'm hoping that the changes that I've made have been the right ones. Still profoundly annoyed at losing an SD card, but anyway, here we are. We're still on the route. There's probably a bit that you missed, but we are still on the route, or part of the route of the Torpool Way, which runs from, at least from Peterborough to Stamford. It may go further in either direction. There's a little blackbird very annoyed at my presence. This is a horrible journey through this wood, as it is completely and desperately flooded. So excuse the sounds and excuse the camera work. So again, I think if anybody tells you that Helpston is just this flat, barren landscape of agriculture, you know, they're wrong really, and they probably haven't been here, because there are lots of corners and places and walks that are actually very wild. And I've been out now today for a good 2 or 3 hours perhaps, and I've not seen one other person. I think I've seen one tractor off in the distance. So here we are. Looks like my camera's working again. It's one of these that has 2 SD cards in it, and it didn't seem to like it very much, so I'm just using one. So it seems to be working again. Haven't had lunch yet, so I'm a bit grumpy, I'm afraid, and rather annoyed at my equipment malfunctioning, not for the first time. So we've just been through this really lovely little stretch of woodland behind us, which is a lovely little woodland in the spring. I'll try and find out on the map what the name is of this woodland. And we're just coming out to a little clearing now, and trying to find a log or something so I can sit down, because it is so wet, it is so utterly sodden and muddy. That's the only thing about this time of year, there's nowhere to sit really. So we're coming out into another clearing now. There's the woodland now behind us, and we're heading off in this direction, if you can see down there. Passing by what I think is probably the oldest oak in the area, right next to a really beautiful farm. Huge oak tree that must have been around in Clare's day, and yeah, I'm just looking for somewhere to eat basically and sit down and have a cup of coffee. There's a whole moat here at this farm that goes right around the perimeter. I'm not sure Clare would have known it. This is probably the oldest oak that I know of in this area. I'm not going to film for too long because I don't have permission to film here. But my guess is that oak must be 300 or 400 years old. So certainly I think would have been around in Clare's time. I'm not going to film here for too long because it's somebody's farm. This is a footpath. But this is a sort of moated ditch area. Really interesting place. I don't know the history of it. I will try to look it up. I think I've tried to look it up in the past and there's very little here. But clearly the moat as was goes around the entire site, and it's just a beautiful site. So if I win the lottery, I think I'll knock on that person's front door who owns this farm for a couple of million quid. So here we are, we're now heading out into a little woodland area, further on down this track, and then on out onto some eastern plains, back in the direction again of Castor Hanglands, and back out onto the road there. Sure you can hear the police siren in the background. Hopefully the farmer hasn't called up the Rozzers. Nice geese over here. Don't look too friendly, so I'm just going to avoid eye contact and keep walking. The good news is my camera seems to be working. Sorry to be obsessing about this, but it's rather been a feature of the day, which is quite new for me because I normally just come up here and do photography. I don't really do a lot of video work up here. So just having a camera malfunctioning and a pain in the arse microphone and managing to lose an SD card with half my footage on, it's just been quite annoying, to be honest. And I'm irritable anyway because I haven't eaten. So sorry to moan, and sorry for the microphone camera noise, if you can hear it. I'm not entirely sure why I did the whole walking up to the camera thing there, as it's only me, as you well know. Anyway, dramatic effect. We're about halfway through our circular walk, and we're heading off to the hanglands, which are in the far off distance. Not sure if you can see them from here, but we're going to head off over that way and then in a big circle back to where we started. It's been a strange morning really. I've had a rather annoying microphone rattle and I've had problems with the camera. I'm filming this on a Panasonic G9 with a Leica 12-60 lens, and the camera so far has been absolutely flawless. It's beautiful, but just for some reason this morning my SD cards, this takes 2 SD cards in it, they just both started flashing full. And so anyway, I've had lots of swapping out and stuff like that. I decided just to work with one and put one in my pocket and managed to lose it. So I think I probably lost about half the footage for today. But it seems to be working again at the moment. So fingers crossed. I've got a feeling it's probably my SD cards and not the camera. The reason why I'm using the G9, it's quite light, it's portable, it's really reliable generally, and it's got really good image stabilization on it, so when I'm walking you're not getting a really badly jittery picture. So I was hoping to use this as my B cam, so I'm going to just keep an eye on it. But actually it's been a lovely day. Apart from that, I'm not used to filming, as I'm sure you can see. So I've been quite preoccupied with the camera today, which has rather spoilt the experience. It would be nice to come up here and just walk, but I think I've got so used to coming up here for photography, which is fine because you can take your picture and then, you know, do what you need to do and then put your camera away. But when you're videoing and doing a sort of blog like I'm trying to do, you've got to use the camera a lot more, and it's quite annoying when things don't work. So excuse the long-winded rant and moan. I'm just having a moment. It is nice to be here. It is a lovely place. And do you know what? I've been walking for 3 hours today and I've seen nobody. I've seen one tractor in the distance. I can still hear the A1 way off over that way somewhere, a couple of miles away. Apart from that, I've seen no one. You're kind of on your own really, which is lovely. You know, it's a nice place to come to if you want a nice relaxing weekend or a little holiday up this way. It is a beautiful place to come, and this is why I come here. It's peaceful, it's quiet, it's tranquil. You get some lovely pictures up here as well. Big gigantic skies, and yeah, it's a nice place to come. The next time I come here I'll try and do this walk properly, and get some proper sort of images for you of where we are on the map, etc. I'll try and cut that into this subsequently. Looks like my camera's working now, so fingers crossed. I'm going to try and find somewhere to have lunch. So, I just decided that I'm going to stop for lunch anyway. Sit on this rather handy ground sheet provided in my camera bag for me, and have a coffee. What can I tell you? Let me see. Just thinking then, I just never see people here. You get dog walkers that stop their cars and... God, that's horrible. There. They stop their cars along the main road and take their dogs for a 10-minute walk. But I generally don't see walkers up here or around here. People just walking, or photographers, or anyone really. There's horse marks, so clearly people ride here. But anyway, what biscuits do we have today? Today we have Cadbury's Poundland cookies. Don't know what these are going to be like. Don't fit in my mug, which is annoying. Not great. I think that's meant to be chocolate that's in them. It doesn't really taste like it. So I've calmed down a bit now. I've got a bit of sugar in me. And my camera seems to be working again. I don't think it was the camera. I'm using a little Panasonic G9, which has very good image stabilization and absolutely excellent video. It's just had a software update, so I don't know if it's the SD cards, which is the most likely scenario, or it's the software update that's causing the glitch. But I was using 2 cards. I'm now only using 1, and the one I put in my pocket, I've managed to lose. I can't find it anywhere, which is incredibly annoying. The microphone I'm using is a little Rode stereo video mic, but it has quite an annoying rattle. It has a shock absorber that moves around, lets the mic move around to minimise mic noise, but actually it's got quite a rattle on it, and I'm not sure if I'm doing it right or wrong, so apologies for the camera sound. I will work on that. I'm probably going to redo this video because it's been a bit of a shocker so far, and it's quite a grey day and I've really made very little progress. But just wanted to show you some of the areas where Clare would have walked. He would have been familiar with this area. It's an area southeast of Helpston, and it's certainly an area that he would have known and roamed around. I think he does make reference to in some of his poems to the Great Plains, and these are still sort of Great Plain areas, although greatly changed from his day, drained, etc. But it's a nice place to be. It's very tranquil. Sorry, I just heard a car then. There's a road not too far from me to the south. So yeah, it's an area he would have known well and no doubt would have walked in. If only he had a camera. It would have been amazing to have seen what this area was like back then. You can only imagine, really. But it's still tranquil, you know, it's still, you know, apart from the car noise and the A1, you can walk here all day and you're not going to see anyone. You know, you can think and you can write and you can take photographs, and you know, on a day like today, even though it's literally pretty much mid-winter and it's cold and it's wet and I'm sitting on a ground sheet and, you know, next to one of the many drainage ditches here, you can see just here, and it's beginning to get towards sort of mid-afternoon, and you can feel already in 2 hours it's going to be dark. Whereas in the summer, 4 o'clock, you know, you're only just halfway through the day. So it starts getting light this time of year, what, 8 o'clock in the morning, dark by 4:30. You know, even though the days are short and it's cold and it's wet and I've got malfunctioning camera gear, you know, it's still a nice place to be. And I think if you were thinking about coming here and obviously visiting Clare's cottage that's open just a couple of miles from here, 1.5 miles, it's a nice day out or a weekend. It's a nice place to be. More coffee. So that really was a spectacularly pleasant lunch, and had a buzzard circling over me for part of it, and I think he could smell my sandwiches and Poundland cookies, which weren't very nice actually. So hopefully we've got all our gremlins behind us today. We're about halfway through our walk and we're just on to the sort of southern plains here. I got a rather nice shot here last year. See if I can post that on here. It's around a bit here, and I got a nice shot here as well. I'm afraid today the light has unfortunately somewhat eluded me. So on we go. We're walking just to that tree line ahead of us, and then we're going to start heading north. So we are now at the southern end of our walk, and we are now heading north, which is that way. We've come round in quite a big circle, so we're about halfway or so, although the way back is actually, we've probably done about 40% of the circle to be accurate, because we've just walked in a big circle from sort of over that way-ish all the way around to here, and we're now heading north. Not sure if you can hear that buzzard. Can you hear that? I can hear it, but I can't see it. Might have been the same one that was flying around me earlier. So we're now heading north. The other thing is, in terms of cameras, is that the other thing I really like about the Panasonic G9 is not only does it have excellent video capabilities now with its new software update, but it's also a very capable stills camera. So, and because it's micro 4/3, it's quite compact, it's quite small, so it's sort of easily transported around. You know, it's not heavy, you don't need to use massive lenses and be carrying around a huge amount of bulk with you. So if you were looking for a sort of walk around type camera that will cover most of your bases and be fairly reasonably lightweight, it's certainly not pocket size, but be much lighter and much more portable than many full frame cameras and lenses, then I don't really think you can go far wrong. And this is handheld, and I think the image stabilization on this, you know, really, even allowing for really dreadful camera work like mine, is pretty decent. And I think the footage that you can get off of this camera is also pretty decent. So for those of you watching in terms of the Panasonic, I would thoroughly recommend it. It doesn't have the unlimited recording of the GH5, so if you need that, then obviously it would be something to look at. But it does have variable frame rates, you can do slow motion, 4K 60p, and as I've said, really it's a very, very capable stills camera as well as videos. In fact, it's primarily a stills camera, but just this weekend I've really been just using it for video. I seem to be over my SD card problems. I suspect it's a card issue and not the camera. I don't think I've properly formatted these because the one I've got in now, the one I've got in the camera now, seems to be working perfectly well, and I reformatted it, so that's my guess. A real feature of the landscape here, if you don't live here, it's just the sort of endless drainage ditches I think I was calling them irrigation ditches yesterday. They're not for irrigation. It's not the desert. They're for drainage. So apologies. So yeah, I do personally refer to this area as the sort of southeastern plains. Thought it was quite a catchy phrase. And I'm using a Rode video stereo mic. Not sure how much rattle you're getting off of this. I think I probably set it up wrongly. Or it's my tripod. This is handheld, so possibly. And I'll try and post some images that I've taken, photographic images that I've taken on this walk, so you can get a feel for what this is like as a stills camera. It's quite a dull, overcast day, so don't be expecting anything massively spectacular. It's a very flat day. I like that view behind me. Taking quite a few photographs here. It's just sort of occurred to me really that as I walk along back towards the main road over that way, that's hanglands behind us, is probably the reason why there are so few people out. It's probably because it's just so wet. I'm not sure if you can see that path behind us, but it's just kind of ankle deep in mud, and it's sort of hard walking really. So I guess probably that's why it's so quiet. I've just seen a little family with their dog get to that corner there and take one look at it and just sort of turn back. It shows you just how flooded this landscape is, and there's actually some walkers behind me. So people are walking, people do come out. So they're possibly, well, they are the first people that I've seen today. So just heading back up towards the main road now. So here we are, folks, we're back out again on our tarmac road, and we've done a full circle in there, which is the hanglands, whether they're called Caster or Caster, I've absolutely no idea. And we've done a full circle over this side of the road today, and so ends my John Clare blog number 2. Excuse me, I just get mown down. Sure they were thinking, who the hell is that man filming himself? What do I take from today? Just how empty the landscape is really. I mean, I know it's muddy and all that. And it's probably not good walking weather, but just the difference to how this landscape is to how it would have been in Clare's day, which would have been a very, you know, agrarian landscape, and lots of farming, and I'm sure lots of people in the fields and lots of people walking, which is just to get from A to B, because that's all they had was themselves. If they were well enough, they might have had a horse or a horse and cart maybe, but yeah, people just drive around in their cars now, obviously, and that's about it. Another car heading towards me, bear with. And another car. Well, lots of traffic anyway, just nobody walking. It probably wasn't the best time to do a piece to camera. Yeah, lots of technical issues today, which I'm not really used to. I just normally come up here and do photography, and everything works. So excuse the mic problems and the incessant moaning about SD cards. I think I got it right in the end. Whatever gear you bring is always a trade-off. You know, do you bring lots of stuff and then have to lug it around, multiple lenses, etc. The thing I liked about this, and still like about my Panasonic G9, is that it's a very, very good stills camera, but it's also an excellent video camera. And as I said earlier, because it's micro four thirds, it's relatively portable. And if you attach a fairly decent microphone, even though the onboard microphone is pretty good on this, you've got a pretty good run and gun operation, which is what I'm using, and very good image stabilization. I mean, this is walking handheld and it's pretty good. So, you know, I could buy a camcorder, but then I can't take photos. I could bring multiple cameras. God, this road is busy. I could bring multiple cameras, but then you know, you are lugging around God knows what on your back, and if you're walking for several hours, it's just a killer, to be honest. So this is a good setup, and it's all working and seems to be going pretty well. I will probably do that circuit, another car. I will probably do that circuit again, because I managed to lose an SD card. So I think I've lost half my footage. Got really glared at then. So I think I lost some footage this morning. So somewhere out there on the Great Plains of Helpston there's an SD card belonging to me. If you find it, do let me know. So overall, yeah, pretty pleased. Day's coming to an end. It's going to be dark in an hour. And it's very grey, as you can see, so I'm probably going to call it a day. So thank you for watching John Clare Ramble number 2. Lots more to see. We haven't even done Helpston yet. Southey Wood, Royce Wood, Simmons Wood, Helpston Heath, Hilly Wood, John Clare Cottage. Haven't seen any of those places yet, so tune in a couple of months. I'll have some more footage up for you.